Chamisha Malchim. There are 5 kings. Chamesh Gevuros shall choitim zer anpin. There are 5 Gevuros in the nose of zer anpin, and they climb Chamesh Malachim. They're called the Chamishach Malachim. There's 5 kings. Chaimim bebehilu. So they're there in a pressurized situation. Omdim l'tzeis bebehola. They're going to move out of there really quickly. B'mihiros b'nikveh hachoitim shall zer anpin in through the nostrils of zer anpin. Kedei lepol dinim ba'olam, and they're ready to go out and strike. L'kamei arba lo yachlin the mekam. Avochav eni yacholin the amma keneged the arba haruchos al yonim v'hayotzim and nikveh hachotim shall erik anpin. But they're not able to, what is it, world? They are not eni yacholin la amma. They can't stand up against the wind that's coming from the nostrils of erik anpin, which are 5 and 4. Asher ma'akvim as a chamesh gevuros shall choitim zer anpin, which hold back those gevuros. Shelo yatsa the pol dinim ba'olim, that they should not come out and bring out dinim into the world. For Inyan, who the Inyan is like this. So here's a little bit of peace. Let's talk about the 4 from Erik Anpin. Haim sod arba osil shel shem havaya. What are these? They call them ruchos. So these are winds or breaths that are coming from the nose of Erik Anpin, and they go after the name Yud Kei Vav Kei. V'chamesh gevuros hayotzeh mechoitim dezer Anpin, heim so chamesh osil shel shem elokem. So we see here that idea. V'hu sod melchemes arba malachim as a chamesha nizka b'pasuk. So this is the secret of the 4 fighting against the 5 that we have in the pasuk. Shenatzchu ha'arba malachim shalachaitim de Erik Anpin, and that's what it refers to. As a chamesha malachim shalachaitim de zer anpin, the 5 malachim of the chotim of zer anpin. V'amar od, and he says furthermore, arba malchim, again, ki arba hagavonim. So he says the 4 colors, lovan, edom, yarok, and shachor, those shall eni zer anpin, are in the eyes of zer anpin. These sound like potential could go either way, but they're weighted towards the left. That's what it seems like. You got black and red in there. So he said, "V'nikrayim arbel malachim." They're called malchim. They're called the 4 kings. Naflu lekadmus arba. Yotzim v'nimshachan lekras ha'arba malchim. So they go out, and they're going to try to find the meet up with the arba malchim, with the arba malchim. Now there's 5 malchim. Shehem shloshim mochim shall zer anpin, which are really the 3 mochim of zer anpin, v'hamochas dimah de Erik Anpin. Now I had to read this again. I sort of got lost there. So he says arba malchim. They're 4 kings. Nafkim the kadmus arba. They come out before 4. Now what does that mean? Yotzim v'nimshachin the kras arba hamochim. They go out and they want to run into, to meet up with the 4 mochim. What are the 4 mochim? So now he says, Ahim shlosh mochim shel zer anpin. So he doesn't say there are 4 mochim is zer anpin. He says the 3 mochim is zer anpin. And he adds for the 4th, mochas dimah de Erik Anpin, and the mochas dimah de Erik Anpin. So the 3 mochim of Erik Anpin, plus the mochas dimah, the 3 mochim of zer anpin, which are out there somewhere, and the mochas dimah of Erik Anpin, these 4 ruchos are going to meet them. I just don't really understand it. Bishum the shorshim shall arbacha govane anayim, because the root of the 4 govanim of the eyes, who ba'arbacha b'mochim halalo, they're from these 4 mochim. Ki hashlosh govane edom yarok shachor and shor. So let's take these 2. The 4 ki hashlosh govanim, which are edom, yarok, and shachor, which are red, green, and black. Shorshim b'shlosh mochim shel zer anpin. The root of them is really in the 3 mochim of zer anpin, but the chabad is zer anpin. V'gavan ha'loven though, but the loven is coming from a different place. Shorsha b'muach shel Erik Anpin. Its root is in the muach of Erik Anpin. So that's where the whiteness comes from. The others, he said, they develop in zer anpin themselves. So this is 3 plus 1. Now, so I'm still back here. We had 5 kings, and then we have meeting 4. The 4 overwhelming the 5. Now we're coming back, and I'm a little lost exactly which these ones are. So hopefully I'll figure it out. So so he said, so he calls them by the name of like grapes in their cluster. And once again, he said, the arba gavonim teluyim, so they're hanging, ba'arba mochim ha'elu. So the fours are really depending, let's say we're depending on these arba mochim. Kamo anavim hataluyim be'eshkol. Now again, the mochin that he's talking about are not the mochin that I'm thinking about, which is chesed gevura tefera. Excuse me, not chesed gevura tefera, which is Chabad, and the Daled, the das is split into two. That's 4, but he's talking about something else. So he said again, the four gavonim taluyim ba'arba mochim be'elu. They really depend on these 4 mochim. Like grapes that are hanging on in their cluster. The b'shah she'enu meir hamuch shel erik anpin. So if the much part is not shining, az gam enu meir gavan alovan, then the white does not appear in the eyes of zer anpin shel eni zer anpin. U'me'irim rak shlosha gavanim edim yarik shachor bilvad. So in this idea, he says at the time that is shining the muach of Erik Anpin, Oz Meir Gam Gavan Lovin Shal Zer Anpin, and so you have some kind of a balance there, because you have some whiteness in there. Below, not only that, the Bishash Meir Muach Erik Anpin, when that's happening, Oz Gam Shar Shlosh Gavanim Edem Yarik Shachor Nir Chotzin, they become bathed talking and sweetened up. So it's not just that the lovin shines, but it actually takes over everything. So that's when you have that blessing of Erik Anpin. So we see like this is the way it goes, is that the way the colors work, they work according to what are the mochin that we're dealing with. So he said, let's try to understand a little bit more. Now, wow. So mochim are really like living creatures. And then he says the colors are like the wheels. This is like making a Merkava here. So the wheels, miznagim achayos. They run after, or they follow after, that's my words, or the way they work, is they follow after the chayos. So where the chayos are going is where the wheels are going. So this is a whole big thing. I'd all like to read it again. He said, commotion to Emma, like it says it like this. Not that good old interruption. Okay, back again. So he says, let's go back to Tzririm Bahu. They're all bound up in misnagim acher hamochim. So wherever the nature of the mochin is the way that the colors work. The mochim are like living creatures. And then the colors of the eyes, they're like wheels, which make the creatures move. So what the chayos want is where the wheels go. Like it says like this, that's very interesting. In the movement of the chayos, then you're going to see that the wheels are going to follow after them. So he said, so now when the chayos are lifted up above the earth, that is when they will also travel the ofanim. Now exactly what that meant, I don't really know. So let's see if we can get more ideas. That the ruach of the chayos are bound together, tied together with the wheels. Because it says the ruach, which is the chayos, the ruach that comes from those chayos is in the wheels. So in other words, it's penimiut to the wheels. That's what it sounds like to me. It's penimiut to the wheels. It came first, and the wheels follow it. V'amar od shiva rehitin. Shebe'ene zer anpin. Now, what does he mean by rehitin? Yesh sheva galde anayim, which are what crusts or scales. It has 7 scales of the eye. Shehem shiva galdim, krumim, crusts. He says. So there's 7 crusts of the eyes. And they're literally like scabs. Well, that's what I kept thinking, but okay, it's not exactly a scab. They're one on top of the next, just like you have the peels of the onion. Which is another phrase which I would like to hear more about, which he says is also the 7 eyes of Yud Kei Vav Kei, which I'm not sure what that would mean. So these are runners. So he says, I want to read it again because it's a lot there. He said, just going back where it says Shiva Rehitim, those are 7 runners, because we know there's 7 runners. So we know that there's 7 crusts there. Just like a crust peels is a better word. The betzalim, just like the peels of an onion. So one on top of the next. Another fact. And then from these 7, last thing he said was the Eine Havaya. He says in all this process, these 7s, so on and so forth, comes out these 7 runners. Anikroim Rehiti. Haratzin lahashgiach al ma'aseh b'nei ha'adam ba'olam hazeh, that are running out to take a good look at what we're doing down here. Sahadim sadusa, and after that me'idim edus al ma'aseh b'nei adam, and that's what they do. So this is the production out of the eyes of Zeir Anpin. So they're actually judges. So that's a Zeir Anpin is lashon judging. Sahadim sadusa v'chevakaime b'duchtaihu. U'malachim elo einim oindim b'mekoma b'gaviyos, but where they're at, they don't have a specific place. Ki einim mashgicha b'cholim rak b'shah she'eni Zeir Anpin pesuchos, but they only do this when the eyes of Zeir Anpin are open, which is that's the judgment possession. And we understand, remembering that the eyes of Zeir Anpin open and close. It's not like the eyes of Erik Anpin, which are only open. So they go, they open, and then they close again. So then corresponding to this, now if it's not wild enough, here we go a little bit more wild, and corresponding to this we have holidays. So at the beginning of Yom Kippurim, and we're talking here about judging, right? So he said the eyes open, close. So that's when the world is judged with the 5 gevuros that come from the nose of Erik Anpin. I keep saying it wrong, Zeir Anpin. He said, and then after that, so this is the process, he says, when you have the revelation now of it shining. And what I'm thinking, he says, when it's revealed, that's a better word, because it's always shining. But it now, I guess, and my thinking is that Zeir Anpin, so our prayers cause Zeir Anpin to look at it. So that's what I think, anyway. So then he says, when so this is where there's a mechila of man for all of his avonos. So let's go there now. We're finished with Yom Kippurim. Is the what was the 5 gevuros versus the 4, or the light of Erik Anpin sweetening up the other lights. So he says, Heim keneged the arba kuvanim me'anayim. So the Sukkos is really, those 4 days are about the 4 colors of the eyes shel Zeir Anpin. When? B'shah shekulim this nehafchim legavan lovan. And this is a sweet white period where everything has been turned to whiteness, ayedei lovan de Erik Anpin, because we're really close to Erik Anpin. Number Dalet, he says, keneged sheva galde ein. Let's go back to the peels of the eyes of Zeir Anpin. That are coming, and they're testifying about what people are doing. But they are moving around. They don't stay in one place. But they go out and they come back. So this is also refers to the 7 days of the week, with including Shabbos. Because this is what they do. Wait a minute, I missed that part. I thought I was doing good. He says, going back to Hine, Kachem Sheva Yemei HaShavua Im HaShabbos Shebesocham. So let's take that. Shemamidim Al Maisa Sheves Yemei Bereshis, that are standing in the place of the 7 days of creation. The Behem Sovavim, they go around. The Holchim Haloch Veshuv, they go back and forth. Kol Yemos Shana, all the days of the year. I didn't get the metaphor here. He says, Kach Hem Sheva Yemei HaShavua Hem Shabbos Shebesoch, with the Shabbos in their midst. Shemeidim Al Maisa Sheves Yemei Bereshis. What does that mean? He says the 7 days of the week with the Shabbos in it is a testimony in regards to the Sheva Yemei Bereshis of creation. V'hema Sovavim, and then they go around the whole Holchim and travel Chaluk V'Shuv, back and forth, called Yemos Shana. Okay, I'm not sure what that meant, but that I heard it. Okay, now we're going on, so we have a few more minutes. So Ina the Mevasim. So just in summary of trying to understand a little bit of what we just heard, this is very abstract. You have these different numbers and numbers combinations, but the Eric Anpin has the ability to be able to, probably as a result of our prayers, to change all the colors of judgment in Zer Anpin, in the eyes of Zer Anpin. And then this last little part where we was talking about the testimony, that we said there were creation of these malachim that run, the runners, and they're going back and forth and telling about what we're doing, where they're feeding the judge, so to speak, information. Okay, that's what I could get out of it right now. He says, Elon the bebasim, ha'ilon shebebasim as a gevuros. So we have a tree which is able to sweeten the gevuros. What is this tree? Yasod shel zer anpin the Olam Habriah. Now we're back in Olam Habriah again because the Gruaz is working this has to do with Olam Habriah. Shenim shachim abo hachasadim amamtikim as a gevuras anukva. So this yisod sends out the chasadim which is able to sweeten the nuk. Yasiv bego v'hu yoshev b'yisod the malchus shemakom be'emse parts of a nukva. Let's go slowly here. So where is this yisod? The yisod is in Yoshev b'yisod the malchus. Goes into, in some way, resides in the yisod of malchus. Shemekoma be'emsa parts of a nukva, that the yisod of malchus is in the inside. He said be'ems, in the middle of the parts of the nukva. You're right, you're still on the middle line. Besod yichud zar v'nuk, and this is the secret of the zer anpin and the nuk, but we're talking about of Olam Habriah. Ba'onfoy achiden umakanen siporim. So it has to do with what? Wings of eagles, or what? Uvanafim shall yisod zer anpin. Now he says there are branches from the yisod of zer anpin. Hanikra elon. Zer anpin is called the tree. Tree has branches. Ne'achazim umakanem siporim. So they hold, and they nest, so they create nests for birds. What's what? Kamosha ne'amar. Va'anofuhi yudurin sipar shemayim. So in his wings, he said, will dwell the birds of the heaven. Shehem sod and the shamas of kedushas. What are we talking about? These are the shamas of kedushas. Sheba Olam Habriah and the Olam Habriah. Now here we just described the yichud of the yisod of zer anpin of Bria with the yisod of the nukva. And now he comes over and he says that there are branches to the tree, which is his, I guess it's zer anpin himself and his yisod, and so on and so forth. It branches out. And then there are birds of heaven that take nests there. So then going over Omar, Tuchosoi Tatalel Chevasa. Ki Tachas Hatseil Shel Yisod Zer Anpin, because now he describes it as a tree, And now he says underneath the shade, sail, of the Yisod Zer Anpin de Bria, Choyse Hamalchus de Bria Hanikros Chaya. Now Chusa wanted to take refuge. She takes refuge under the shade of the, what a metaphor, of the shade of the Yisod Zer Anpin, de Bria Hanikra Chaya. So who's called Chaya? Hanikras Chaya. That is, the Malchus is called the Chaya. And she's refuge underneath the Yisod Zer Anpin is a tree and its branches, and she's taken under the shade. So, I don't know, Chevis Bara, I guess, are wild animals. The Shli Techabachu Ilin Kivishin the Mechach. So he said, V'chamamalchus, the Bria, right? Sholetes Ba'osa Elon Shal Olam Habriah. She takes control of the Elon. Shuhu Eitz Das Tovara. Sheyesh Becha B'shnei Drachim L'lechet Behem. So this is also a description of Bria. He's saying the Bria is also the Eitz Das Tovara, because you got good and evil over there. Im Tovara. Like we say like this, so that's the idea, that's the Klipas Noga type of deal. Samchin Sachrane. V'sheva Amudim Svivosov Besod HaPasuk. So he said this Pasuk, Chatzva Amudim Sheva. So I guess Ata Chatzva means carved out, Amudim, Amudecho Sheva, comes out to be 7 of them. Shehem Shiva Amudim Esher Abalechem Omedes Haaretz Shehira Malchus. So this is 7 columns on which Malchus stands, which is mashma. Before I thought the metaphor was she was underneath the shade of the branches of the Yisod Zer Anpin. And now he says that she's actually standing on, that's why I say, Aleichem Omedes Haaretz Shiva, let me read again, Shehem Shiva Amudim Asher Aleichem, on top of these Amudim, Omedes Haaretz Shehira Malchus. So the Shiva Heichelo Shal Olam Habriah, and this is the concept of the 7 of the 7 palaces of Olam Habriah, Nikroim Sheven Na'aros Esther, which is also called by that name. Wow. Ba'arba Zivin. Umalchus the Bria Rocheves al Arba Chayos HaKodesh Asher Mekomom Ba'arba Chavayos, or Pinos, he says it's a Chavayos or Pinos, which is found in 7 different places. 4 different places. Let me read it again. There's a lot here. He said, "V'hem so the Shiva Heichelo Shal Olam Habriah." So he's saying that he's going downwards, and I keep thinking that he's going to get into Yetzirah. But he says this is the 7 palaces that go up to the Malchus, which has this Yisod of Zer, who is taking refuge under the Yisod of Zer Anpin of Bria. That's the way I hear it. And these now she said, V'hem Sod Sheva Heichelo Shal Olam Habriah, which are down below that, and Nikroim Sheva Nairos Esther, which are the 7 girls, servants of Esther. Now they have Arba Zivion. Malchus the Bria Rocheves. So now the Malchus is also riding on Arba Chayos, these 4 animals, HaKodesh, Asher B'Makom B'Arba Zivios, Pinos, which have 4 different corners or places where they reside. Mizgalgalim B'Arba Sitrin, Mizgalgalim of Mispashtim. So then it spreads B'Arba Ruchos, these 4 animals, B'Arba Ruchos Oilam. Ukenegdam b'muadim heim, and a corresponding that. But so we had the 5. We had the Adam, the shore. Well, I guess the first one is the Ari, the Ari, the shore. What's the next one? The Adam, I guess. And the last one is the eagle, is the Nesher. So these also represents. He says Genegdam b'muadim heim. So also he says they also represent the 4 directions of the world, which are, and he says, it's hard to understand what directions means here. And then you have the holidays that correspond to them, and then the Shavuos connected Yisod Zer Anpin, the Bria. Because he wants to say that Yisod is the concept, the ultimate concept, the middle line. And so this is a tie that you could say that what's in the middle, That's going to be, that's going to be be'emsa hamod. It's in the middle of Pesach. Oh, so, okay, let me go ahead. Ki Chag HaShavuos hu be'emsa hamuadim ben Pesach l'Sukkos. Kudugnas ha'yisod shuhu be'emsa parts of canal just like yisod, which is in the middle. V'hu sod yichud zer v'nukv. This is the concept of putting the male and the female together of Bria. Now, he said the whole story, really, of how they are put together. So he says, Shmini Atzeres, Keneged Malchus, the Bria corresponds to that Malchus, Ki Shmini Atzeres, Hi Bechinas Malchus. I think we're going to stop here. What do you say?
Yeah.
Okay, there was a lot of stuff there, a lot of stuff of really beautiful, beautiful description of the yichud that takes place between Zohar and Nuk in Olam Habriah.
Yeah.
Thank you for learning with me so much. Kol Tuv.